Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar. On-Time Edge welcomes Zontal, and today's session will be presented to you by Christoph Gansler, Director of Pre-Sales and Product Marketing at Zontal, and David Hunt, Director of Global Accounts and Alliances at Zontal. Today's presentation is part 2 of a 2-part series, Fair Data, Empowering Data-Driven Insights and Decisions with AI in Pharma. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. My name is Amy Campbell, and I'm today's moderator. Before we begin, let's cover some housekeeping items. This event is being recorded, and we'll send you a link to access it within a few days. We invite your comments and questions. If you have any questions, please enter them into the comment section in the panel on the right-hand side of the screen. Feel free to enter your questions at any time during the presentation. We will do our best to answer all of them during our live Q&A session at the end of this webinar. This is a web-based event. If you experience any delay with the screen or audio, try refreshing your browser to catch up to where we are. At this time, I will turn the microphone over to Aaron Moll, Managing Partner at On-Time Edge, to begin today's presentation.
Thank you, Amy. On-Time Edge is a company focused on digital transformation. We help manufacturing companies through their digital transformation journey. And what we consistently hear about, especially recently, is the need for data to drive decisions, right? Next slide, please. And of course, the decisions that people are talking about and the technology that people are talking about is largely machine learning or AI driven these days. Consistently, what we see is companies have the data that they need to feed an AI engine, but they don't necessarily have it in the right place. It's not necessarily in the right format. And so we've put together this process flow here to kind of walk through a typical process to get data ready for AI-based decisions. Of course, the first step is collecting the data. Typically, companies have data in a lot of different places, right? It could be in a quality system, could be in a manufacturing system, could be in a laboratory system. And it's not always in the right format, which brings us to step 2, the data cleaning. What we mean by cleaning is changing the engineering units, changing the schema, essentially taking it from the original format or formats and putting it in a format that's ready for machine learning or AI. Once you have the data ready, typically the next step is to pick the tool that you're going to use to process the data. Feed it into that tool. That's the orange box there with data preparation. Create your model, and then optimize your model. And this is true not just of AI, right? This could be any analytics tool. This could be any reporting tool. Consistently, we see highly valued team members in companies spending a lot of their time with data preparation, with data cleaning, data collection, really low value tasks that drive high value decisions. And so what we're excited to talk about today, and what Christoph is going to talk about today, is Zontal, a technology that really enables the automation of those steps. And it's pretty groundbreaking. Christoph, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you for the introduction. And hello, everybody. My name is Christoph Gansler. I will take you through a real use case of Zontal and look a little bit deeper in how that actually looks like inside the tool itself, and explain to you how that is useful for that for these steps that you just saw presented. And this is our agenda for today. So I will quickly say that what our realm of the challenge is that we're covering with Zontal today in our demonstration here, and then I will show you some examples of how that is solved and how these challenges are tackled. So overall, the industry challenge that we see and that I would like to introduce you to, or like show you what we can do, is how to convert your data into insights and make better decisions faster. I think this is what everybody wants, and this is what we always wanted. Like if you're coming from the lab or manufacturing or shop floor, this is always the same. And in many of these locations, you have Excel spreadsheets running around, and everybody's using them. Of course, there are many times in labs there are LIMS and ELN systems and LES. So this is a very specific type of secondary software, secondary for that case, because we're using it from within Zontal, and I will show you how that works. And these data sets that are coming out of there, they're not necessarily the way that you will need it for a long-term storage, or the idea of reusing the data for machine learning. And in the end, what you also want to do is not only preserving the data, and not only doing the machine learning with it, you of course have to, and many industries have that, have their industry standards. You would like to, of course, would like to maintain your integrity with these standards or regulations that you have to adhere to. And all of this needs a data standard, and the data standard is the data standard we're adhering to, and what we really make the data fair is really to make it findable, accessible, and then make sure it's interoperable, so the different data sets inside that database are interoperable. And with that, we make them, of course, reusable for other applications that we cannot even foresee. Some are like in 5-10 years, this data that we're collecting today might still be relevant, and we need to reuse it. So it's a good time to start now to collect this data in this fair way. And Zontal is that single data management platform. There's all the data coming in that is produced by instruments, by robots, by sensors, and also Zontal communicates with the different tools that are out there, and sends information back to the instruments or the robots, and making sure that this two-way communication is all orchestrated and it's logged. It is actually something that has an audit trail, and will come in my examples later. I will come back to that. So everything that goes through and into the Zontal Data Hub is adhering to a standard. It makes the data fair, and you can use it you can find it and you can use it now and in the future. So one of my example, I'm throwing you right into the demo of the software itself. So this is data from an instrument called Vicel. And when you're going into that data, these data sets are loaded in Zontal, and Vicel comes with a text file output and also images. And these images are stored inside Zontal. So the raw data is stored in Zontal. But of course, what we're doing is we're parsing that data, and we're making it visible for the end user, for the scientist. And that means that we have a viewer for coming with every data set. In this case, you see it's a tabbed experience. So you have the experiment tab, which shows you all of the relevant information about the experiment. If I click on settings, you see the settings of this one experiment here, and this gives you already an overview of how the assay was run. Now you click on the results tab and you can see the overall results of this experiment, all nicely fitted here into this one line. But now you can drill down and now you can look at the data itself. So the data that comes with the results of the raw files can of course be visualized by Zontal, and Zontal is doing that in this Vicell parser and visualization. So all of the aspects that are recorded in the data is there, and of course underlying that whole thing are the images from where the data was collected. And here you can see, of course, there's a list of images. Since these are cells, a scientist might want to look deeper for a contamination or what is it. So you can even zoom into these images of this parser, all inside the Zontal platform. That means that everybody can still find that data, view that data, and make decisions on that for the future. So this is preserved. This data is preserved. It is available to the scientists because they can find them, because all of the metadata is searchable. So you will find your cell lines, you will find your instruments, you will find whatever other metadata project names you have. For example, this will all be searchable, or is all searchable in Zontal, and individually you can just pull it up and reuse the data. And so these visualizations that we have, they are stored together with the parser. So that means that you have access to not only to the data in the future, but also to the means of how is this data best visualized. And this is of course only one example. There are many other of these parsers and visualizations that we have that are combined. We call that information package. And these information packages inside Zontal have the possibility to be reused themselves. They are an open standard. So this is your data as a customer. You are collecting this data. We're bringing it all together and storing it inside such an information package with the original data files, with the parsed data, with the metadata that we attach to it, and of course, with the way to visualize it. So all of these things are together in one package. And that makes it very future-proof. And it's an open standard, as I said, so you will not lose it. The images, of course, these are only like very simple images. All kinds of images can be stored either inside the platform, or if you have a specialized image store for other microscopic images or other media, you can attach them so that we have a link in Zontal. We don't duplicate terabytes of data here. So this system is open and can be put together the way that you want it. So let me take you through just a couple of screenshots and to make you aware of what is currently possible. We have over 500 instruments that we can connect to. So I hope I'm doing it justice by just showing a couple of slides here. But the idea always is that we are capturing the data itself. We're adding metadata to that to make it findable again. We're creating a format out of this. We're parsing the data and we're creating a vendor neutral format that we are using for the data hub ourselves to be able to visualize it later. So even if you have one instrument today that does something, does a specific test, and you're buying a new instrument from another vendor in the future, that means this data will still, in the end, inside Zontal, look exactly the same to the scientist who finds that data and extracts and visualize it. So as a biologist, you are always dealing with plates, and this is of course one of the visualizations that are always in, or with, like, coming with many of the instruments, many of the results are there. But as I said, also many kinds of images or videos can be stored with or linked to the result. And in this case here in CDEX, we even have some computation on top of the cells, where you can see these little red circles, where the instrument actually itself recognized, okay, these are cells. Now you can of course count them, you can see dead cells and so on. And this is already possible to visualize directly in Zontal. And of course, entire experiment plannings and lab notebooks can also be stored in Zontal. So if you need to decommission an ELN because it's not like doing what it should do for the scientists anymore, and you decide to have a new ELN, then you can decommission not only the individual assays that were that are coming from the instruments. You can actually go and store the entire ELN inside Zontal. And you can see the tabs here again. So in the ELN itself, an experiment would have tabs and subtabs. So this is, my demo was only showing the most easy way of displaying, but Zontal is of course always adhering to this drill down mechanism that we all know from data. And so it's storing all that data, it's storing in this case, the chemical compounds, and it's storing the results, so everything that was aggregated inside the electronic lab notebook is also aggregated inside Zontal. And there are two things that a scientist rarely thinks about when they're creating a new experiment, when they're planning a new experiment inside their ELN, is that it creates an audit trail. And of course, what we do from Zontal, we have our own audit trails for our own data sets that we are loading in. But here, for the preservation of an ELN, also the audit trail of the experiment is preserved inside Zontal. And of course, all of the attached files. On the right hand side, you can see the file list, and lots of PDFs here attached by the scientist to this assay and to this experiment. So this is what all ends up in Zontal, and how you can actually preserve the data. And that means for us, we can even go a step further and say we have methods in the lab that need to be digitized. And that's another type of entity. Like a method is something that Zontal can send out to an instrument when there's a new assay or new experiment planned. Then the scientist can actually choose the method that the instrument should perform and choose that from within Zontal. And Zontal uses this method and sends it to the instrument. And we have done this for even for methods that can be run on different instruments from different vendors. and we can create, again, a vendor neutral format of this method. And depending on where the scientist sends it, Zontal is configuring this method so that the instrument understands it. And of course, if you're looking at the bigger picture, if you want to look across an entire lab or many labs or across an entire assay type, like how often were these assay runs performed, where were they performed by, but for which project, etc., then you can go in and tap into the database of Zontal with other tools. I'm using Spotfire here, but of course this is a normal SQL database as it appears to the outside, and inside it isn't. But to the outside, you can query Zontal with these tools, with these analytics tools, or even with AI or machine learning tools, to actually extract that data that you can learn from, that you can teach them. This is normal, and this is an outlier. Things like that can be created on top of Zontal, outside of Zontal, and then if you have a good algorithm that you would like to run on the data, you can even put this algorithm inside of Zontal so that it runs where the data actually is. And everything in Zontal is an API. So we're using the APIs to display the data. We're using the APIs to visualize the data. And these APIs are also, of course, available for the customers, for the data scientists, to actually interact with the software itself, and probably also do connections to other softwares. And so these are REST APIs that are working with Swagger. So, and with that, I'm already through my little excursion and demo of Zontal. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, please let me know through the chat, and I'm turning it back to the On-Time Edge colleagues.
Thank you, Christopher. We appreciate that. And with that, we will be taking questions, and we do have a few that have been submitted. Our first question is there any data validation?
Yes. So what we're doing in several stages when we're accessing data, we can validate the data through Python, for example, through a Python script where we say, okay, this is how the data should look like. This is how many files there should be. This is how big the files are. Things like that is a first indication. Then when we're going to the next step and parsing the data out, of course, then we can look at the quality of the data inside the data that we just ingested. And then before we write it into the data hub, there is the possibility that we're again checking for limits, things like that we can report on. Or if something is missing, we can trigger an alert and make sure that even somebody like is alerted to that fact that this was not parsable, or there are too many outliers. Then you can trigger an alert from within Zontal, even to a Teams channel, and say, look, somebody has to look after this.
Okay, thank you. It looks like our next question is, does it support regulatory requirements?
The audit trail is supporting, and Zontal, how the data is stored is absolutely GXP ready. It does support these regulatory requirements. We're working on the HIPAA, but there are data sets that Zontal ingests and takes care of, parses and preserves absolutely according to the research standards across the pharma industry.
All right. Thank you. I do have a third question. What are the encryption and access control measures?
So all of this data is encrypted as it on rest and in when it's transferred. All of the login mechanisms are going through your single sign-on, your HTTPS security certificates. This is one thing, and of course, the data itself is encrypted where it is, and it is you can, as I said, you can store these data sets inside your own firewalls if you wanted to, and there you can of course have full control over this data.
Okay. And I have a final question for now. Will this make it harder to perform data audits and inspections?
No, it's actually the other way around. It has all of the data, so it makes these audits easier. We have a very interesting group of users for the Zontal platform at our customers, which are the attorneys, because they can actually go back in time and look at all of the data sets that were ingested, and then they can see what happened when, and they can even I have not talked about this today. Since we can preserve data, we can also have the data on a schedule to be deleted if that's a requirement. And these attorneys, they have a special user role where they can actually put a hold on the deletion of data as a whole inside Zontal. So the audit trails will never be deleted, so you can always prove if you had a data set that you have deleted it at the right point in time. So it actually really makes audits easier.
Great. It looks like that was the last question. If there are any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask, or if you would like more information about the topics covered today, please email info@ontimeedge.com. I want to thank our presenters, Aaron Mull, David Hunt, Christoph Gansler from Zontal, for an informative presentation today. We appreciate your time as well. And as a reminder, this event was recorded and you will receive the link within a few days to view on demand and share with your colleagues. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and we look forward to meeting with you again soon.